You guys have no idea what I was just doing before I hit record. I watched a movie called Snack Shack. Snack Shack, it's fun to say. Snack Shack. Um, and I wanted to make a video about it because I feel like this is one of those movies that none of you have probably heard of. Like, nobody I know has heard of it. I just happened to come across a trailer for it. But it was interesting, which is why we're going to talk about it right now. Snack Shack. Um, this is a coming of age movie. The trailer makes it look like a very sort of American Pie, Girl Next Door esque sort of like teen comedy that were super popular in the late '90s, early thousands. But it's not. It's a drama. Like it's a coming of age drama with some sprinkles of comedy over the top. So let's get that out of the way. The trailer misleading. All the funniest bits are in the trailer, and everything else is coming of age teen Midwest emo story, which that's a good thing. Um, no complaints there. But just keep that in mind. But definitely an interesting movie. So why is this interesting and why am I talking about it? Well, movies like this don't exist anymore. Really, like that's not really a thing that people make anymore. Um, and it's telling because the director set this movie in the year of 1991, a year I was alive in, um, which we'll get around to that. But this is like, look, no diversity hires, no like weird forced stuff that didn't fit but had to be there. Like none of the weird 2024 problems that movies have are in this movie. It's very interesting in that regard, um, and very refreshing to watch. And this is one of those movies where I'm talking about it now, but had it come out in 1998, it would be a dime a dozen movie that some people would fondly remember and most people probably wouldn't care about. But in the year of 2024, it's actually quite impressive that this was made, and so far with very little drama. Um, so we'll start with the negatives because there aren't that many of them. Surprisingly, this is overall a good movie. Um, the big problem with this movie and the existential crisis that it gave me is that this movie is set in the year 1991, a year I was alive in, a year I remember. And 1991 did not look like this movie. And it's the biggest problem. People didn't talk in 1991 like they talk in this movie. They just didn't. Um, that's not a thing. And they didn't act like this, and they didn't dress like this, and they didn't have these hairstyles. And the world around it, it's very much like what a 16-year-old thinks 1991 was after watching a few YouTube videos. And it dawned on me that probably half the production crew are probably in their 20s, and that this movie was probably made by a bunch of people who were never alive in the time period. And that's a big fault of the casting crew and the makeup and hair team and the costuming team and all that, is that it didn't feel authentic. Now, what I think happened is they probably know that it's not authentic, but in order to get kids to watch, because this movie very much is, it's aimed at two people who are alive in the 90s and remember these movies, and the younger audience, to introduce them to these movies. But the thing with that is the younger audience aren't going to watch a movie if it looks old. So I think they had to make the main cast of characters look like modern day teens and millennials and dress and act a bit more modern than they should have in order to get a younger audience to watch it. Which I don't like that. I'll be honest. Like, it makes the movie feel inauthentic. Okay? So if you remember the 80s, 90s, and early thousands, that is going to grind your gears so much watching this because it doesn't feel authentic. This is the first movie I've seen where I've actually had that existential crisis of, I'm old, and like this isn't what the 90s was like. I've never had that before in a movie, but this movie, it tried to dial it back and it failed. So just that's like the warning in advance right there. However, luckily the actual movie's good. So the basic plot, I hate when you go to watch a movie review and someone just basically recites the whole movie. So I'm not going to do that, but I need to give you guys some context so you know what you're getting into. This movie is about two teenage boys. They're 14 and they look 20 and they act like they're 18. But essentially speaking, two teenage boys, best friends, Midwest, Nebraska, America, middle of nowhere sort of town. We all remember what it was like. American football album cover, um, all that sort of stuff. And it's very much that vibe. And so these kids are hustlers and they're trying to find, the next big money making hustle that they can. They're entrepreneurs and they're trying their best to make a bunch of money, etc. Because in this backwater, boring Midwest town. Um, and during these antics, new girl moves in next door, military brat, always traveling, just staying with her cousin for a short amount of time, and that creates a romance triangle between the two best friends and the girl, um, which leads things down. And this is very much a slice of life coming of age drama slash with comedy elements in it, about these kids just navigating through this awkward teenage part of their life and trying to earn money and trying to live their life. And then a girl gets between them. And the thing is, like, I know, and most of the older people out there who are similar to my age have seen this movie 100 times before, but a younger audience probably hasn't, and they're probably not willing to go back and watch those old movies. Um, yeah, so that was interesting. There's a few twists in the movie. There are some great scenes, and it is a weirdly nostalgic movie. Nostalgic in vibe, but not in visual. Like, it doesn't look like the 90s, but it's trying to. And it's a tone that, you know, they're trying their best to replicate that doesn't really exist anymore. And it did manage to not immerse me, but take me back to those awkward teenage years and all the crazy stuff that I got up to as a kid. Some of you older viewers probably got up to as kids. The younger audience probably can't relate to it, but I hope that they can. The soundtrack, there wasn't really much there. It just had this weird shoegazing style, like background music whenever like a like romantic thing was happening. Um, so yeah, like there wasn't really much to talk about the soundtrack, but at least they used like a shoegazing thing. It did feel theme appropriate. And a lot of people watching this probably don't know what shoegazing is, but hey, now you've got something to Google. Um, and yeah, it just felt like caricatures of the '90s, and it wasn't quite right. Like the female love interest, she doesn't dress like a girl in the '90s. She dresses, pardon my, I don't know, I'm not even going to pardon it. She dresses like a modern day whore. That's the only way to put it. Yeah, there's like it's actually off putting when you're watching it because they're all meant to be like 14, 15 year olds, and it's just kind of like a bit much, so to speak. Some of you won't have a problem with it, but I guess did, there, and the people I watched this movie with were all kind of put off by her. And yeah, like she's probably the worst element of the movie, but she's kind of meant to be the worst element of the movie. And to be honest, in my early teen years, like I know girls that were kind of like her. They just didn't look or dress like her because people were a little bit more modest in the '90s. Um, yeah, but once again, I think that's them trying to get that millennial audience and get viewers on. I think they like purposely took some liberties there. Um, and yeah, but overall, the movie mostly worked. Had I not seen it 100 times before growing up, but it was refreshing to see it like a 2024 movie and not be like running back to my past to watch things that are actually good. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's called Snack Shack, um, and yeah, like I should mention, it's called Snack Shack because the kids work at like the snack shack at their local swimming pool in the summer to earn money. And that the snack shack, it's great, it's funny in that regard. They've got some good ideas, stuff that I would have done as a kid, and some of the stuff I swear like they could have like taken from my brain because I did very similar things and got up to similar antics there. And I overall like it's weird. I feel like there's going to be some people who absolutely loathe this movie and don't get it. I do feel like it is a more male oriented movie. Um, like because it is two male characters with a female that gets in between, and I guess a lot of the emotional aspects and the weird like pubescent emotions of men may not translate so well to women. I know some of the females who watched it with me did not sort of get it and we're pretty bored. But every male I know that watched it was like, and I mean, I watched it with family, so we all grew up together, getting up to similar mischief in the similar time, and so I feel like, they all sort of enjoyed it for what it was too, and shared similar sentiment to what I'm saying here. So yeah, I mean that's it. It's Snack Shack. It's out now. It's new. Doesn't feel new, but it is, and it's very refreshing. Absolutely zero weird woke panderingness in it whatsoever. It's a fun coming of age story that is, I'm gonna say, definitely worth you giving a watch. It is 2 hours long and it starts really slow, um, but yeah, it's just, I don't know, something different, which is weird to say because it's not different for me, but something most people haven't seen in a very long time. So by all means, give it a watch. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments if you've seen it. And I'm just curious to see how you go. And let me know, like, I don't want to know your personal details, but let me know if you are watching this and you grew up in the 90s. And when I say in the 90s, you weren't born in 1998. Like, you were born in, like, 85 to 90 and you remember the 90s. Like, and let me know how you feel, and let me know if you weren't born in that time period and maybe you're younger. I don't want to know the age and what year you're born in, but just say like millennial here or zoomer here, or old fart like myself, and just because I'm curious to see if the sentiments from people kind of is reflective as to when they were born and if they remember this time period or not. And that's all I have to say. So fuck off.